Happy 4th of July, everybody. Today we're going to go through over 25 USA-made knives to celebrate the 4th of July. Now, we do have 100% USA-made apparel linked down in the description. Definitely check that out. If you're going to be wearing an American flag on your shoulder, it should be made in the USA. We're going to talk about a couple other items here in a second that are also made in the USA. This is the Freeman 451 full tie in magnet cut steel, and it is thick as a brick. This thing has basically a convex grind with this milling right here, a convex edge bevel. It's very thick behind the edge, like 50 thousandths. I mean, just like crazy. I don't know if it's that thick, but it's thick. But an absolute beast of a nice knife, very comfortable, phenomenal detent. They did a great job tuning it. You see we got the American flag there. And yeah, these things are kind of hard to get. I got mine at Blade Show. Then we have Highwater knives. This one's in S35VN. Somewhat of a, well, as far as I know, it's a newer company. And yeah, so I got to try one of their knives out. I bought this one. They're pretty affordable for USA made, especially in small batch. You can see we got the CNC grinds there, and it has an aluminum handle with a button lock. Very solid detent on this. You'd almost think it was like a frame lock detent or something. I mean, it's a strong detent. Nice and comfortable in the hand. The aluminum is very rounded and softened in the hand. So yeah, and then this one also has a convex edge. I have not resharpened it. So next, we have the Medford Smooth Criminal. The Medford Smooth Criminal on this exact one, I believe this one's S35, yeah, S35VN. It has a hollow ground drop point blade, and you can see this is done by a hand because you can see as it goes right here, it starts to turn. Machines will just go straight across. So you can see that is hand done there. Aluminum handles, button lock action. And you know, when these things first came out, their detents were a bit soft, but now they are tuned great. Like this is very snappy, great detent, nice and fidget friendly. Titanium spring pocket clip, titanium hardware. I love how he does the big, huge, torque bits in there. You know, everything's pretty much overbuilt, and you know that's what Medford pretty much does. But recently they've been doing quite a bit of like EDC friendly knives. This is the Slim Midi, another Medford knife, Medford Slim Midi, and all of these knives from Medford you can get in so many variations. Like you can even send yours back in and get it redone into a different pattern, colors, whatever. So we have another drop point, deep hollow ground blade, nice and thin geometry, nice and thin blade. The handle is very thin. And if you're used to Medfords, you probably would be shocked how thin, slim, and light this knife is. And, you know, there's a reason why it's called the Slim Midi. Now, the action, this one is on bearings, and it is phenomenal. Listen to that sound. Hopefully it's coming over the mic. It is a phenomenal sound. I love the sound of this knife. But yeah, awesome EDC, very lightweight. The clip works great. My only complaint is I wish there was lock bar access. But anyways, love the knife. It has a falling leaf pattern, which I also really enjoy. I mean, it looks beautiful to me. Next, the Spartan Harsey folder. We have a drop point, deep hollow ground blade that does not come from Spartan. I wish they would start doing their very own deep hollow grinds. This is done by BGM, and mine went from, I don't even know, it's probably 25, 30, it was probably like 35 thousandths behind the edge, maybe even thicker, because these things are thick when you get them. Mine's like 15 thousandths now. Very thin geometry. It has a nice low edge angle, but you wouldn't know because it's so thin behind the edge. So now this thing is a phenomenal user. It still has a nice thick robust spine, so you're not gonna have to worry about breaking the tip or snapping the blade. It's still nice and robust, but now it slices like a dream. And the ergonomics has always been phenomenal. I mean, this is a real, what I would call a real tactical folder. Something that you can be tougher on, you can use for EDC, you can use in you know, maybe a little bit tougher situations that you would use a folding knife in. We have the Mayan calendar. Don't argue with me about if it's Aztec or Mayan. As far as I know, the Mayan calendar came first, and you know, when I got it, that's what they called it. But you can see it is machined into the titanium, and it looks really good. Same thing over here. We have a titanium spring pocket clip, titanium hardware, and I love the nice big titanium hardware. It's just so overbuilt, and mine has gotten very, very smooth. All you got to do is you can either one polish, or mine's actually tight right now because I did over tighten the pivot, but it's either one, you polish the washers, which works really well, or two, just continue flipping it, because if the more you flip it, the smoother it gets. I mean, mine is really, really smooth. So much smoother than when they first come out of the box. They're a little tight when they first come out, but as they're supposed to be. Next is the Hogue Misto or Maisto. This one is the titanium one. I'm not sure if there's any of these available, but there was a couple different blade shapes, and this one was like a special edition one with the titanium. They might be available still. I'm not positive, but there is other versions available. This one has Magna Cut steel, heat treated between 63 and 64 HRC, titanium deep carry clip. It does have the button screws on there. It is reversible. I wish they were flat screws, but not that big of a deal. Thumb stud action. It's a nice, slim, somewhat lightweight pocket knife. And while we're talking about Hogue, let's pull up the Hogue Deca. This has original goat scales. Awesome, awesome scales. If you guys want some great USA-made scales, titanium, aluminum, or synthetic materials, check out Original Goat. I have a 15% discount code linked down in the description. Also Magna Cut steel, and I like the black accent to the silver aluminum handle. And the weight of this, you know, before it had the FRN, which was very flimsy, and it was just so, in my opinion, felt so toy-like. Once you put the aluminum scales on there, not only does it increase its tool-like feeling, like where it feels like a robust tool, but it doesn't increase the weight, at least not enough to tell. It is so lightweight. This is a knife I would go jogging with. And then just one more Hogue. It's actually a Sig Sauer, but Hogue is the one who makes them. This is the Sig Sauer K320 in S30V FRN scales. It also comes with aluminum scales. You can get it with the gunner grip handle, with the wood gunner grip handle. Just an absolute badass knife. I freaking love this thing. And the more you use it and the more you handle it and everything, the more and more you love it. So one thing, when I first got it, I wasn't a fan of this hole deployment just because it's just kind of awkward. It works. And then, you know what? It's actually not even just the hole. The hole could be sized a little bit bigger, but you wish the detent was a little bit stronger. But then after a while, you know, it breaks in so smooth and you get used to it, and it stays so unbelievably solid. At least mine has. It's great, man. Very good ergonomics, great slicer. The choil, yeah, that's a little weird for me, but hey, you know, whatever. It's, you know, sometimes you need a little unique. So when you sharpen, be careful. You don't want to recurve the blade. However, you can always chop that out if you really wanted to. But yes, mine is the FRN one, so mine's the more affordable option. Next is, oh, we're bringing back some more Original Goat scales. We got the Demco AD20 full titanium with the beautiful full titanium Original Goat scales. These are linerless. Oh my goodness, this thing is a beast. It is an absolute monster. Look at how thick this thing is. There's a reason why the slicers are doing so well. I thought about sending this in to get a nice deep hollow grind put on it, and I still might, just because that's more my style. However, I also love the fact that this lock is so incredibly strong. Like, this is one of the strongest locks on the planet. So you kind of want a blade that's going to back up the lock, because what good is the lock being able to hold 800 pounds or 1,000 pounds or whatever it can hold if the blade does not? So this blade definitely will at the moment. It is thick as a brick. You can see my edge bevel. Look at how big that bevel is. It's not even a low angle. It's just, you know, it's a nice thick edge. So very sharp. This one is in 20 CV steel, and then it has, like I said, the titanium scales, the shark lock with very fidgety action. Love the sound of this thing. one of the coolest sounding knives, and this thing is a hoss. It is a beast. This is a real hard use knife. So this one you could definitely consider more of a tactical knife. Next, Chris Reeves. Can't talk about USA made knives without screaming about Chris Reeves. I got to interview Tim Reeves briefly at Blade Show Atlanta. Awesome guy. Really cool dude. But they're using MagnaCut now, 63 to 64 HRC. Love to see that. I want to get some on the channel to test. This one's still the old one. This is the S35VN. So this is the Sabenza 21, not the 31. But hey, as you can see, this thing is like practically brand new still, and I use it. It's been sharpened, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 times or something. And you can see, look at all the life that's still left. The plunge grind is underneath the scales right there. So I have all kinds of life left in this knife. And man, my goodness, is that sharp. Great access to the lock bar. And look at how smooth mine is. Mine is just so smooth for washer action. I don't have the reverse flick because I don't have the double-sided thumb studs. I only have the single-sided. But for me, I'm not a big fan of the Chris Reeves thumb stud. So I change it out. So this is a titanium thumb stud, but this is, oh my goodness, more comfortable. This is the way you want it, is this type of thumb stud. I wish Tim would just change them to that. But very good ergonomics. This is a straightforward EDC knife. It is a real, I would say it's a luxury tool, because not only is it a highly functional tool, you know, just from the ergos, the blade, the geometry, the way it sharpens, everything about it, but it is also still premium, out of premium materials, and gives you, you know, like I said, a premium quality knife that's still a phenomenal user. Next, American Blade Works. So American Blade Works, this guy is doing incredible work. Mike is one guy making all these knives, making his, you know, the American Blade Works knives, and he is killing it. MagnaCut steel, 63 to 64 HRC. We have titanium scales, titanium mill pocket clip. It is a steel liner on this. They were, I think, titanium at first, but he switched it to steel, which, you know, I think is just working out better because of the geometry with the blade. I think, you know, it just works out better for him. So mine is rock solid. And he's such a good dude. If you ever have any issues, any problems, don't hesitate, that he will take care of it. I can promise you that. This guy is just phenomenal. And it doesn't take you having a huge YouTube channel in order for that to happen. So, and that's something I respect. And I know a lot of people who have contacted him, and he's never treated them any different than he's treated me. And I think that's awesome. Great geometry, nice and slicey, great ergonomics, phenomenal action, great sound. Listen to that sound. You gotta love that. It is on bearings. Good access to the lock bar. A gorgeous knife. I personally like it. I think it's a good looking knife. Very simple, meaning, or monotone, I guess I could say. You know, with the titanium and the blade, just, to me, it's a very attractive looking, straightforward knife. And another straightforward looking knife, we have the TRM Holy Nerd. This is a lot smaller than you think. So whatever size you're looking at right now, it's smaller than that. Just take my word for it. This is a knife that you look at on camera or on pictures, and you're like, oh, that looks like a good knife. That looks like it'd be a good size. Then you get it in your hand, and you're like, whoa, that's almost too small to even flick. And it is. It took me like 2 days to be able to flick this open, because it is, maybe not 2 days, but it took me, you know, a little bit of practice in order to be able to flick it. It's just, it's so small. But for a tiny little knife, we have 20 CV steel, obviously USA made, beautiful micro milling texture. We have a titanium deep carry spring pocket clip that is inset with flat screws. Love to see that. And it has this beautiful texturing over it. So for a compact little fifth pocket type knife, this one's really cool. Here's its big cousin, the TRM Shadow, and the TRM Shadow is probably my favorite. Yeah, it's my favorite knife that they do right now. I'd love to see them do even more models. You can see I have sharpened this thing. I've sharpened it a bunch of times. This thing has It is, man, it takes such a crispy edge. They do a good job with their 20 CV, at least on the models that I have sharpened. And this has the crossbar lock, which another thing they did a really good job on. Now they do have new ones with different thumb studs. People were not a big fan of these thumb studs. I didn't mind these thumb studs, but I do want to get the other ones because I think they look better and they're just more my style. They're a lot more like this. So hopefully I wind up getting those, but the crossbar lock, very easy to get to, super smooth. This is riding on washers, but it is just luxuriously smooth. You know, the first time I tried a TRM, opening it up, being on washers, it is like glassy smooth. They do a really good job. And I love that they do nice thin blades. This is a cutter, it is a slicer. It's kind of like what you would think the Benchmade Griptilian should have been to some extent. And speaking about the Benchmade Griptilian, I guess we can't talk about USA made knives without bringing up Benchmade. So Benchmade, you can see the geometry a lot thicker, which there's nothing wrong with that. This is still a good cutter, and this is going to be a bit more tougher use, even though you could totally be plenty tough on this for what you should be on a knife. G10 scales, deep carry clip inset with flat screws. Yeah, 20 CV steel. And then this one has the S30V steel, which I personally love S30V. I think S30V is great. Never had an issue with it. I like it even more than S35VN for a few different reasons, mostly related to sharpening and edges and stuff. But this one has aftermarket micarta scales. I do kind of want to swap them. I do think they're kind of ugly scales. I also miss that thwack that these things come with the FRN scales. They are loud. They're like the loudest knife you've ever tried. But Benchmade, awesome knife. I wish they wouldn't keep raising their prices the way they are. Kershaw, their USA made launch line. Now, I like that Kershaw is, you know what, actually, what do I have on me? I did have it. Where is it? Here she is, the manual Kershaw Belt Air, what I think is their best model right now, aside from their anniversary knife, but I can't really consider that. But anyways, thumb stud action, Magna Cut steel, 62 to 64 HRC, I think is what they're doing. First of all, really quick, we'll get to this one here in a second. Aluminum scales, Magna Cut blade, nice thin geometry. I do have an edge retention test on this. I have a full review on it. You should definitely check it out. Mine is rock solid. However, I did replace my Omega springs, not because I had to, because I wanted to. So I actually grabbed a pair of Kaiser's Omega springs because theirs tend to be a bit thicker than most companies and just stronger. So this thing had a great detent. Great detent, solid lockup, nothing was wrong, not even a little bit. But when I swapped it, it increased the detent strength and the lock strength. So this thing is super snappy now. Like so snappy and so solid. And I love that. I have sharpened it a few times, because we did the edge retention test. But yeah, phenomenal USA made knife. This is probably the best affordable USA made knife you can get in Magna Cut steel. They do have another model that they recently dropped in Magna Cut as well. That is the Blur, I think. I think it was the Blur, which is only like 125 bucks, 127 bucks. I'll link it down in the description. I don't have one, but they are assisted. But if you like the Blur or you want Magna Cut in, an affordable price, check that out. This has CPM 154. Now, this one is a bit pricier. This is probably the most priciest launch that they have for the money. Or sorry, for the materials. So these are a bit more expensive. They're even more expensive than some of their other steels that are more premium. It's just because it's the most attractive looking one. It's probably going to be the most sought after one. It is great. It's amazing. Aluminum handle. We have a G10 scale down here that looks like micarta. This thing kicks like a horse, man. I didn't know that. Nice, powerful snap. Very ergonomic. You can choke up. Phenomenal geometry and blade shape. This is just a functional tool that works really well. But here we have one in Magna Cut. Magna Cut and aluminum handle with micarta inlays. And this one, again, kicks nice. I mean, this thing is very snappy. I love a bayonet style blade shape. But this one's in Magna Cut and it's actually a little bit more affordable than this one in CPM 154. Now, nothing wrong with CPM 154. It's personally not my favorite steel, even for a budget steel. I actually prefer 154 CM over CPM 154. I'm probably one of the only people, but the reason why is just because how fine-grained the steel is after it becomes a powdered steel. It winds up, in my opinion, not taking the best edges when you start getting into the finer grits. It's great with the toothy edge, but to me, it just, you know, it winds up losing bite very fast. So anyways, which the 154 CM also has that issue, but not as bad as the CPM 154. So you want to stick with the toothy edge, that's basically what I'm saying. But anyways, awesome knife again. Like I said, bayonet style blade shape, somewhat of like I would say a self-defense EDC knife, but damn it, did they do a good job on these. Their launch series from Kershaw, they are hands down the best bang for your buck USA made knives. However, Spyderco does have some really good ones as well when it comes to the lightweights. I only pulled out a couple Spydercos in order to not make this video an hour long. This one is the Rex 45, which I got a couple of, and the Rex 45 is amazing. This was a GP Knives exclusive. Now there's other exclusives out there, like from Blade HQ, I believe with M4, or maybe it's 4V, I don't remember, but doesn't matter. They have a ton of lightweight models that are pretty affordable. These ones were like $147 or something. And sometimes you can get some of their exclusives with an amazing steel, by the way. Like, this is one of my favorite steels. This is a badass steel. This thing holds an edge for like ever. It takes the most ridiculously sharp edges. You should definitely go watch my video on my top 5 favorite steels. Anyways, phenomenal knife, but the price is really good for the lightweight versions, which are FRN scales. Now you have hardware on the FRN scales. Before, it was just pin construction. So this allows you to switch the scales. Original Goat. Check out Original Goat. I believe these are available right now. I believe you can get aluminum. I'm not sure if you can get titanium yet, but you can definitely get aluminum and probably titanium, which makes it stay extremely light. Like I was saying before with the deck, I mean, this thing is, I can't tell the difference in the weight, but what I can tell the difference is in the feeling. It feels so much more solid, and yeah, the Original Goat, best USA made, I'd say best scales period, best aftermarket scales made in the USA, and yeah, these are amazing. And also, I love this gunner grip pattern. The Yo Jimbo, also with titanium Original Goat scales. You gotta love Original Goat. Deep hollow ground S30V blade with this worn cliff. Look at how thin that tip is. Woo, this thing is so good. After you put the scales on, it's amazing how much a knife can change by changing the scales. Like, you could have a knife that you don't even like that much, put some different scales on there, and all of a sudden it becomes your favorite knife. Very ergonomic, great utility cutter. You know, technically this derived from a self-defense knife. And I know, you know, it kind of has, you know, an awkward look to it, but the look is designed to be the way it is on purpose, which it has, and it has a compression lock, which is a nice, strong locking system, what Spyderco has been known for a long time. Amazing, amazing knife. Next, Protek. So we have the Protek Mordax here. Probably my favorite Protek model. Now, they do have the Malibu, which is also a manual knife. I wish Protek did more manuals. This is in Magna Cut steel, 6364 HRC, and my goodness, did this thing take a damn good edge. Look at that edge. I put a nice low edge angle. I think it was 15 degrees per side. It is a stone washed blade. Like I said, Magna Cut steel, aluminum handle with the honeycomb pattern. They do have these in S45 as well. Deep carry clip that's inset with flat screws. And the detent, well, as they should, being a company that does button lock autos, they should be really good at button locks, and they are. So phenomenal detent. Mine, however, I do have a little detent lash that I do need to send it in for. Not a big deal. I obviously haven't sent it in yet, so, and that's been going on for a long time. Eventually, I will do that, though, because it does drive me nuts. And one more Protek. This is the Protek PT Strider design. I like Strider's designs. You know, I only have one Strider, one real Strider, and it is a custom, and it's rough. So, you know, I'd like to get more. I really like Protek's Striders. Like, this thing is rock solid. Like I said, they do a great job with their button locks. It hits like a damn, oh my goodness, does this thing kick. It kicks hard. However, I wish they would do this or the large one in a manual version. I spoke to Protek about it, and he said it's not really on them. He said they, you know, it's up to Strider, and he don't think that they would allow them to do that because the customs are a manual, and that's what separates them to some extent, which I do understand that. This one's in magna cut steel, aluminum handles. You can see it's got the clamshell construction for a small knife. It is very comfortable, very compact, very useful, and my goodness, very snappy. Next, the SCHRADE Truex. Recently did a SCHRADE video, and you know, I didn't say a lot of great things about the OTF models that I was checking out. This one is USA made, not just assembled in the USA, but USA made. S35VN Tanto, and it has a little bit of a drop to it, plus that nice sharp secondary tip. And then you can see I chipped my tip. It has a steel, basically a steel bolster with this heavily textured G10, and it uses the crossbar lock. And they did a pretty good job on the crossbar lock. I'm not a big fan of a couple things like the screws on the clip. I wish those were inset or just flat. And then the blade to handle ratio is weird. But the action is really good. It is fairly solid. I maybe a tiny bit of movement, but you know, as long as I've had it, it's very solid for how long I've had it, and you know how, you know, the bit of use I've done. The ergonomics are really nice on it. It's slim. It's relatively lightweight. I mean, it's not really lightweight. I got, you know, it's steel, so it's not lightweight, but for the size of a knife it is. It's not a heavy knife, you know. I can pull out some other knives I've already shown, and they are way heavier. Now, the thing is, though, is that this thing is thick. It is kind of a wedge. Now, you can lower back the edge angle and make it, you know, a decent slicer, but this is going to be something you can be a little bit tougher on. Similar to like what you'd think of like the Benchmade 940, which is the same way. You know, it's robust where, you know, you can maybe even a little bit more robust than the 940. But you can lower back the edge angle like I did on mine. Mine's got a 15-degree edge bevel on there. So it actually slices fairly decent considering. And this knife's just been known for being a phenomenal EDC knife. Something you can be tough on, and something that's lightweight, compact, small, nice and slim, yet you have a full-size knife on you. Well, this is kind of the same concept to some extent. You can be a little bit tougher on it. It's going to cut for you. And the price is a lot lower than they originally had it. I think it's around $150. Speaking about Benchmade, might as well pull this one out. I had the grip out earlier. This one has aftermarket titanium scales. I'm not a big fan of the scales, but I do still have the carbon fiber, so I'll probably put them back on. It does have washer action. This one's the S90V version. And yeah, awesome knife. I do love the 940. I think it is one of their best models. And I would love to see them do like a version 7 of this. I don't know how many versions they've done already because they have a lot of different versions from the Mini, the Auto, but this same size, but just like maybe a slight bit broader with a hollow grind, you know, maybe change the design of the handle to separate it a little bit. I think that would do very well. But, you know, Benchmade's, their prices, man, they've been going a little crazy lately. Really quick, I do want to bring up a couple other USA-made items that I've been using lately. Like, I recently got a new pair of USA-made boots. I love USA-made boots. I have a couple different pairs. Recently, I got a new pair. So recently, I've been wearing the Thursday Captains, which are the most affordable USA-made boots at the highest quality. They are very high quality with a very low price, which for similar quality, you usually see them about $100 more. Like even my Red Wing Iron Rangers are like $100 more. Granted, you could say the Iron Rangers are slightly better quality, but they're almost comparable. Yes, the Iron Rangers are better quality, possibly thicker leather and things like that, but the Captains are still 2mm thick leather, nice and robust. They feel good. They're something you could dress up or dress down. I got the olive green ones because I wanted to match my USA-made Hanks belt. Hanks belts are USA-made. They're not a video sponsor or anything like that, but they are my favorite belts. They are amazing. They have all different thicknesses and styles, whether you like to carry or, you know, you just want a nice, thick, robust belt. They are 100-year warranty. So they're called the 100-year belt because they last, you know, 100 years or better. So if anything happens within 100 years, they'll just replace it. But yeah, anyways, some USA made gear that I've been wearing that I also really like, including my USA made shirts that you can find linked in the description. Next, Microtech. Gotta show off the Microtech. Oh, I should have pulled out the mini. We have a mini Microtech from like 1999. It is, yeah, 1999, and it's an auto and it still works, and those are discontinued. They recently dropped some minis that were made by Reich overseas, but the one I have is USA made before they ever did anything overseas. And it's, I think 154 CM blade steel. Like I said, an automatic, still works, it's brand new in the package. Anyways, this one is the 204P, which is like an M390 20 CV steel. We have an American Tanto with ceramic ball bearing action. Mine has the titanium liner. You can see the steel lock bar insert in there. Some of these are steel. Mine is titanium with the aluminum scales, and this thing has such good action. These thumb studs, I love how big they are, and these are the stops as well, the blade stops right there, which is nice, big, and robust. This thing is so solid. It's on another level of solid. It's so solid, you can take out all these screws, and it's still perfectly centered and rock solid. It's been such a phenomenal knife when it comes to being a real tactical, high quality, well-built knife. The thumb studs, they have this ramp where you just ramp your thumb right down to it and smack it out. I think, you know, Reich did a great job on the overseas titanium ones, but this I think is even better, to be honest, just for a few different reasons. And actually, it's even slicier, which this is already thick. This actually gets down to like 15 thousandths on the edge, but look at how thick the blade is. They rapidly get down that thin. So it does not have like super slicey geometry, but it does get down to a thin edge. So it actually cuts fairly well, but it's robust enough that you can be tough as hell on this knife. I've seen people abuse the hell out of this. These knives. I even abused this one in a video before. Anyways, glass breaker on the back. We have the clip that is tipped down, which is something that does kind of shy people away because, you know, they want the tip up. But, you know, it is what it is. I'm not that worried about it. I understand why they did it like that. The reason why is because when you pull it out of the pocket, it's a big knife. You don't want to have to climb up and then launch it out. So when you pull it out, you literally go right to the hand and flick it out. So that's why. Hinderer. Got to bring up Hinderers when we are talking USA made. So I have more than this. I just pulled out a couple. Like I said, I'm trying not to make this an hour-long video. The XM18 skinny sheep's foot, my favorite one of all. It's a bit slicier than the other ones. It's thinner in the hand, and it's still mega comfortable. Like, this thing has a phenomenal grip on it, and you can choke up. The blade shape is just hyper functional. The action, mine is on the ceramic caged bearings. Super snappy. The detent is solid on mine. I did round this over just slightly because they are very pokey. Here we have a non-flipper XM18 3-inch. This one has red micarta scales, and again, very smooth. Love the thumb stud action on this, and the detent is really good, very ergonomic. It's a perfect size for a medium-sized knife. It's not too small, not too big. It's literally just right. This is the size knife that most people probably love. This one is 20 CV as well. I love how overbuilt these look, you know, with all the hardware, all the screws. Love that. And these are all on the tri-way pivot. You can see the little symbol there. That's the tri-way pivot symbol. And then here we have the half track. Now, the half track is something, it's a little unique for, oh, maybe not, but it's kind of unique for Hinderer. You know, just the style, the look, the action is so good on these. I mean, the detent is nice and strong. The flipper tab is very comfortable, no texturing, but no texturing needed. Wharncliffe blade that's upswept, and what's cool about that is it makes it to where you can have your fingers underneath this and get down to down to the tip. Basically, it ramps the tip up here, so you just angle your elbow and you can do great utility cuts. It doesn't matter what direction you're going, this is going to be a great utility cutter. Now, it is a bit thick for slicing, but it's still a good slicer nonetheless. Titanium frame lock with, all the nice big overbuilt hardware like I love. Love the lock bar. This thing has beautiful smoothness to it, no stick whatsoever. None of them do from my collection. So awesome knives. Next is Emerson. Got to bring up Emerson. Now, I brought up Strider before. I didn't pull out my Strider because, like I said, it's a little rough. Emerson's, I think they've gotten a little bit better than they used to be a long time ago, but they are kind of stuck in their old ways, which I do think that would serve them best if they did something different. Yeah, you seen that? I front flipped it. This one, I do have the disc that they sell on their site. This is a titanium disc with a lot of grip to it. 154 CM blade steel. I did lower back my edge angle and put a nice low convex edge on it because it is a single-sided bevel. So this does slice actually pretty good for a thick, robust knife. A lot of American knives are just, I think we're getting better with this, but a lot of American knives are just thick, robust, and way overbuilt more than they need to be. Now, I understand it from a knife like this. This is the A100, and the A100 is supposed to be like basically a tough use EDC, and it absolutely is. The titanium liner lock creates a little bit of stick, but not too much, just enough that I don't worry about it slipping or failing on me. So this is a liner lock that I could actually use pretty tough without fear of it slipping. Plus, they make really good engagement. So there is a lot of good things about this knife that's going to serve certain people very well. The handle is mega grippy. On another level of grippy. But that will wear down the more you carry it, the more you handle it. Like, it's almost sharp when you first get it, but like I said, that wears in, but it makes it to where it doesn't matter what type of conditions you're in, it is going to be very grippy in the hand. Good access to the lock bar. Mine has gotten very smooth. Like I said, I can front flip it. But anyways, Emerson knives. I love the A100. I thought about getting the aftermarket scales for it maybe one of these days. But like I said, I wish that they would come with a little bit more modern stuff, modern materials, maybe modern steels. Maybe, I don't even care if they stick with the same materials, but maybe thinner geometry, something, to where it starts making them a little bit more modern. Next, we have the Asheville Knives Paragon Warlock double-edged dagger. This does come in different blade shapes. There is a ton of different options for this one. S30V on mine, but like I said, lots of different options, including titanium ones. So you can get like full titanium ones that are obviously more expensive than this one. This one's in aluminum, but they look sick. So basically, it has a clamshell handle, and you push in on the pivot, and it separates the handle, right? You don't want to squeeze down here when you do it, otherwise it won't open up all the way. So you kind of just hold the pivot when you do it, and then kind of just like grip the clip a little bit, and then you can let it swing out and then let go. And then you can squeeze it, which is locking it in place, making it rock solid, like there's no movement at all in this thing. If I let go, yeah, I can get a little bit of movement, but with it in the hand, it's rock solid. But even without squeezing it, it's still really, it's pretty tough, because in order to separate it, you got to squeeze those the pivot. But very smooth. It does take like a couple minutes to get used to, but once you do, it's very intuitive. You just have to get used to it, which, this one I've gotten very used to. I would love to get another one. I'd love to get a titanium one. And then, what is this last? No, we have one more. This is the Tactile Archer, and the Tactile Archer is an expensive knife, but it's 100% USA made, magnet cut steel, 63 to 64, titanium scales with this beautiful feather pattern, because, it's the Archer, right? For like archery. And it literally looks like a feather. It is beautiful. amazing access to the lock bar. The clip works great. It's a titanium mill pocket clip, titanium backspacer. Stupid smooth. The action on this feels exactly how you'd expect a $600 knife to feel. It is very, very smooth. The access to the hole deployment is great for the thumb or the reverse flick. The one thing is the detent is a little late, but you can easily get past it. But I do prefer my detents to be super early, but yeah, this one's fine. And it's got a ramp, so if you do hit it, like right there I'm hitting it, you can just swing right past it. The detent, solid detent. My one complaint that I had, they have fixed. So, which is the choil. You can see I hit the plunge grind when I sharpen it, but they notched it out and separated the plunge grind from the edge bevel, which they did a great job on. So now you will have a lot of sharpenings before you hit the plunge. Now, the Tactile Chupacabra. I sent mine back in to get the new jimping on the back lock, or basically, like, it's like a Snex lock. I know Snex doesn't have anything to do with it, but it's the same style locking system. So I sent mine in to get that tuned up so that it gets the nice texture on it. So I don't have it in the video, otherwise I would, but my goodness, the Archer. If you get a chance to get one of these and you like, you know, premium USA made knives, definitely check this one out. This one is an absolute winner. I'm going to try to link everything from this video down in the description. Next is from Rob Johnson. And as you can see, he does absolute amazing, amazing work. This is the Cedar. Look at that blade. My goodness, look at that blade. That is just, damn it, that's beautiful. That's a sexy knife. This comes in so many different flavors and options. It's basically make it your own. You get to pick your colors, your accents, your finishes. Like, if you don't like this blade finish, he does all different kinds of other finishes. You don't have to get the milling pattern, but oh my goodness, do I love it. It feels so good, and it's like, because it's so deep that it is not just a sight to see. You feel it. Now, it doesn't create a ton of resistance when you're slicing with it, though. It slices just fine, and he hand sharpens the edges so they come with a quality sharpened edge, unlike a lot of companies. And I'm not trying to bitch or anything. I know companies got to sharpen their knives fast, and if they hand sharpen them, they'd have to raise the price because it does take a lot longer than running it on a belt. But it's a nice touch when a company will hand sharpen a knife on diamond stones. Now, this one has a flipper tab that is kind of inset, so you do have to light switch it. You don't push button this one because if you do, it'll come back and hit you. So you just pull down and away like that, and then it works great. The hole deployment, perfect placement for the reverse flick. They cut this handle back so you can thumb it or reverse flick very easily, or even slow roll it. Good access to the lock bar. They did cut this slightly back farther than the other side. I like the way this cutout is. The clip is also gorgeous, the way how the diamond pattern, or whatever you want to call this micro milling, it matches. The blade geometry is nice. You know, it's got a relatively thick blade with a very thin edge, so this thing tapers down really nicely. The ergos, you know, you're pushed back a little bit, but it feels really good being back here. And then at any point you can choke up, put your middle finger there, and, you know, take advantage of, you know, the choke up spot. All in all, what a beautiful knife. Rob Johnson does a phenomenal, phenomenal job. And I have no doubt that he's going to have a very successful and long journey in making knives in the knife community. Yeah, absolute beautiful knives. So there you guys go. There you guys go. There was way more, I think, more than 25 USA made knives. So happy 4th of July, everybody. Hopefully you guys have a safe and great time tonight or this weekend or whatever, depending on when you're watching this. You might be watching this later, no big deal. If you like this type of content, I'll put some cards up on the screen for you to click on. Work hard, stay tough. Until next time, peace.